Hi, welcome to Give Me the Bible, where God's Word speaks for itself. In the past couple of videos, we've talked about the difference between righteous judgment and the kind of judging that the Pharisees were doing, the hypercritical and the hypocritical judgment. In this video, let's just get practical. Let's just talk about the application of this principle of the need to judge with righteous judgment, but not according to appearance. It's amazing how important this principle is in almost every area of our lives. So let's just look at three general areas. Let's start with the church and our brethren. Look in Matthew chapter 18 with me. Matthew chapter 18, Jesus gives us a principle for how to deal with sin in the church and in our individual relationships with one another. And he says in Matthew 18, Verse 15, if your brother sins, go and show him his fault in private. And if he listens to you, you have won your brother. If he does not listen to you, take one or two more with you, so that by the mouth of two or three witnesses every fact may be confirmed. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. Let me point out, first of all, that in order to actually follow Matthew 18, it is going to require some judgment. It's going to require righteous judgment, looking at someone's life, weighing out the facts, and determining this person sinned. They're living in sin. They sinned against me, and so I need to confront them about that. But the problem is, many times, Matthew 18 is abused because people judge according to appearance rather than with righteous judgment, and they violate John 7:24 in the process. For instance, sometimes we're too hasty to accuse someone of sin when in reality, maybe that person didn't sin against us at all. Maybe we just imagine that they sinned against us. We go to say hi to them in the church building, and they're just distracted and busy, and they don't even see us. They don't even say hi to us in return. So we think, oh boy, they're just giving me the cold shoulder. They must hate me or something, and that's not right. We should love one another. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to confront this brother about their sin of not saying hi to me. Sounds petty, but it happens. There was a preacher one time, actually it was just a member of a congregation, and he had a song leader that led a song in the wrong time signature. And so he confronted this brother about leading a song in the wrong time signature, as if he violated 1 Corinthians 14:40, let all things be done decently and in order. So we have to be very careful with accusing people too hastily. I like the Proverbs here. The Proverbs is going to help us in this video. Look in Proverbs 25. Verse 8. Says, do not go out hastily, Proverbs 25:8, to argue your case. Otherwise, what will you do in the end when your neighbor humiliates you? If we jump to conclusions and we jump on somebody for some sin that's not really a sin, just because we got our feelings hurt, we're going to end up humiliated in the end. Also, sometimes we judge people's motivations just by their outward actions. One time I was preaching at a church, and the guy on the front row looked like he wanted to murder me. I mean, I don't know what it was. I was worried I was preaching false doctrine or something. And after the sermon was over, he comes up to me and he says, I just want to say that was just such a wonderful lesson. Well, I'm thinking, where were you, buddy? Like, you look like you wanted to kill me the whole time, and you actually enjoyed the lesson. So I've learned over the years that I cannot always accurately judge what people are thinking based on their body language, based on their facial expressions and gestures. I like to think that I can, and many times maybe we are accurate in our diagnosis of what people are thinking and feeling based on their outward behavior, but not always. We have to be careful not to judge according to appearances. Some song leaders get up there and they think, well, if the members aren't smiling and just, just waving their hands in joy, well, they must not be spiritual. They must not love the Lord. As if there's only one way to show some outward expression for your emotions in song. Just really bad judgment. Sometimes we oversimplify people's behavior. We see somebody do something and we say, oh, well, I know why they did that. One time I was at a preacher conference, and I was sitting next to a guy, and he was very shaky, and he was an older guy, and I thought, man, does this guy not know how to sit still? Like, what is his problem? He gets up and he says, I want to apologize. I have Parkinson's. I left my medication in the hotel. I felt about that big because I had oversimplified his behavior. I thought, oh, he just must not know how to sit still. He must just be an impatient person. When in reality, there was something deeper going on. We got to really be careful with that. And sometimes, too, we judge people because they hurt our feelings and we take things too personally. And so sometimes we just need to let things go and not overreact to what happens. I really like Ecclesiastes 7. Ecclesiastes 7, he says this. It's really an amazing verse. He says, verse 21, Ecclesiastes 7, also do not take seriously all words which are spoken, so that you will not hear your servant cursing you. For you also have realized that you likewise have many times cursed others. So sometimes people do something and we're seething in resentment about it, and we take it so personally, when in reality, A, they may not even realize they did it, so we need to have compassion and overlook a transgression. But B, how many times have we done things to people to really make other people mad? How many times have we sinned against other people? And sometimes we act like they're the sinful ones. We've never done that, and so we don't have any grace on them. So that's the church application. How about the home? Like Proverbs 18 and verse 17, the first one to plead his case seems right until another comes along, right, and pleads their case. So sometimes when you're talking with your children, you're dealing with a he said, she said, he started it, she started it, and we have to be careful in weighing that out and not just assume, well, I know who the guilty one is here because it's, this kid who's almost always the culprit here, and so we don't even listen to their testimony, and we're only listening to the testimony of the kid that we think is already in the right. We've got to be very careful with that kind of favoritism and with that kind of snap judgment. We need to make sure that we're seeing things from our spouse's perspective, judging righteously, not according to appearance. Many times it appears to us there's only one way to see this thing. There's only one way to go here. But our wife, our husband, might see it differently, and we need to listen to their perspective, try to understand so that we can judge righteously. And finally, in the world, I preached this sermon, I preached these lessons back in February for Black History Month. And when you think about it, the real heart of racism is a violation of John 7:24, judging according to appearance, not according to righteous judgment. Remember Martin Luther King in his I Have a Dream speech, he said, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they are judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. That goes for racism, that goes for ageism, that goes for sexism. Sometimes, we think we have people figured out because we're profiling them and we know where they're from, we know what they're all about. You remember Samuel? He goes in looking for the next king after Saul, and he sees Eliab, David's older brother, and he says, surely this one's the anointed. And the Lord corrects him, and he says, do not look at his outward appearance. The Lord sees not as man sees, because the Lord looks at the heart. That is what we need to do, not judge things based on appearance, but look beneath the surface. See things the way God sees them. And one final application here, how about sin? Isn't all sin that we commit really a result of judging based on appearance? Sin is often a delight to the eyes, like the tree in the Garden of Eden. And it entices us. Satan so often entices us by what we see, by the appearance of what this sin appears to do for us in a beneficial way, but in reality it just ends up destroying us. We've got to use righteous judgment, not judging according to appearance. So many applications there. If you can think of more applications, post them in the comments below, and if this was helpful, go ahead and click a thumbs up, share this with your family and friends. Look forward to seeing you, Lord willing, next time.